And this is the problem with very easy rules. It might seem simple, and you might start to ignore some of them because it's a bit too easy. I want you to consider Scrum Agile in the context of throwing somebody into the swimming pool. Now, some people may be able to, who cannot swim, will maybe float for 2 minutes and then go under. Somebody who's an excellent swimmer, they might be able to swim there all day. That's what happens if you actually throw a poor Agile project into a client site. All the mistakes that are made in a poor implementation of Agile will be swallowed by process. As a project manager, if I don't like what I'm seeing from my development team, I will place a level of process to guarantee that they are working to how I need them to work. And that's when agility is lost. You go back to needing specs up front and contracts agreed before work begins. Now, Scrum Master and Coach, and pretty much anybody who's interested in progress of a project, why we want the sprint is because we want to focus the team for a certain period of time on one target. One team, one target. I will try to remove all interference out of that project group for that period of time. I will try to remove everything that I can to give them the ability to work in unison to that goal. And as a Scrum Master, it's my job to try and make that environment happen. I may have to compromise it in some ways, but it's always my need to try and minimize interference into my team to give them a chance of success. So, when it's sprints in progress, I do have to put on my sunglasses, cross my arms and say, please don't disturb. I need to be able to give my team the ability to work with as minimal interference as possible. And where there's interference, I need to try and capture it over time to become an average. Maybe I can only guarantee 80% of non-interfered work in a week. Well, then that's how I have to measure what I bring into a sprint. It's against 32 hours, not 40 hours, or 28, whatever it is. And within that sprint, one thing I have to do as a Scrum Master, and my client has to do, is actually trust the team. If we keep constantly asking, so, are you done yet? Have you done that? Or if we try to keep influencing what the guys are working on, we're going to distort their ability to work, because they'll have to start managing your expectation over the release goal. So we talked about empowerment. I need to be able to give my team, and I need to trust my team enough to say, yes, I am happy for you to go and work and do this piece of work without me constantly intervening. However, I will intervene at regular touch points, being the end of the sprint. In empowerment, we also encourage our team to be responsible of how they work together. We don't use command and control. I don't tell you what to do every day. I don't tell you what you should do and what you should do next. I don't expect you to come to me saying, what do I do now? Because all my work, I don't have anything assigned to me. I'm expecting my team to actually manage themselves and the responsibility that comes with it. I'm not expecting my children to act. I'm not expecting my team to act as children in a schoolyard or in a school where they just do what they're told. I'm trying to give them an environment that has removed interference where they can work freely and as effectively as possible by trusting them to do that. So, as a Scrum Master, what do I have to do to give the team that sort of environment? Well, I have to clarify strategic direction often. I'm going to have to strive for participation every day. I have to clarify the expectations often, and I have to resolve conflicts as early as I can, as soon as I can. As a Scrum Master, that is my first priority at the end of every day, is to try and resolve all conflicts that have been found or been raised to me. So, one thing about Agile that we have to be comfortable with is that we have to appreciate that the future is often unclear. So we have to plan for what we can see. And I'll talk about that in a little bit in a while, but you need to be able to be confident enough to allow people to work in an isolated period for an X amount of time. You need to have the ability, the appreciation or confidence. It's really confidence, because you actually have to talk to it. That really, where you're going to concentrate on what we're going to deliver in this release, and we have a high-level view of what we'll do in the next two releases. And yes, everything is in line with the overall project strategy or organisation directive that has been set to us. If somebody is constantly saying, well, what task are you doing in December? Well, you have to be confident enough to say, well, I don't know right now because we're in August. You need to be able to explain to people that we need to control the controllable. I'm not going to spend my time trying to control things that are beyond my reach. I'm going to try and do as much as I can to remove any obstacles in the way, or to and give myself a very good understanding of what's there. But I'm not going to have the same level of detail done for what I'm going to work in December or for what I'm going to work in August or in September. And that's what we do with user stories, that we try to get a large range of what the entire project is, and then the stories that we granulise down are the ones that we're working on right now. And I like my term, I have scouts. When we're coming to the end of an iteration or an end of a release, I will scout ahead to find out what's next in the backlog, what we should be working on next. I will always have somebody looking forward, but it won't be the entire team. It won't be to the same level of detail as we're doing within an iteration. So why do we work in iterations? There's a number of reasons, and the one that your answer should always be to give myself the highest amount of control I can to a project. Because what we do, and as a developer, what I want to know is that every iteration, when I demonstrate what we have done, what our solution is, well, it should be a touch point. It should be a stake. So if I'm climbing a mountain and I've reached a touch point and I said, "Are you happy?" They go, "Yes." Well, I'll just put one of my crunks in and I'll keep on walking up. So that if I make a mistake, I'll only fall to the last touch point. I won't fall any further. And if I do fall any further, well, the responsibility of that is not within the team. It's within the people who have said, "Yes, we're happy with what you've done." And that's the level of responsibility that my stakeholders have to take on in an Agile project, is that they have to say, "Yes, I will take the time to look at the software solution as is and say if it's right or wrong." I cannot ignore it for too long, because if I do, I'm placing a risk on my project. That we could work 2 or 3 iterations before we actually realise a mistake and have to actually revert backwards. So, if I have a very difficult mountain to climb with a huge overhang, I'm going to have an awful lot more touch points in my project, because I don't want to fall too far. However, if I think the project is quite easy and it's quite straightforward, well, I won't need as many touch points. So, one of the things I do is I always consider risk in setting my iterations. If it's a very risky project that's subject to change on a constant basis, well, I will then have a short duration which I work within, because I cannot afford to work in isolation to all of this change.